I just wanted to, first of all, get on to Chagai Gula. And the Rebbe said how the Gula of Yud Beis Tammuz was a forerunner to the Gula of Midas Vashleim. The Rebbe spoke a very interesting Sikha. It was in, I think it was Havshim Memches, Chukas. The Rebbe spoke it was very fundamental Sikha of how the Rebbe spoke about the Indian of Gula Midas Vashleim. What is the gather of that the future redemption is called a true and complete Gula. The Rebbe says that the Gula Mitzvah Hashlema means that not one Yid will be lost in Golos. So the truth is it's a shtickle, a chiddush of the Rebbe, not a chiddush in a literal sense, but because if you look in classical sources, it would appear that some Jews will merit the Gula, some Jews won't. But that's not the Rebbe's been mechadish. The Rebbe very much emphasizes, particularly at this point in history, every single Yid. We say that one Yid will be lost from Golus, you can't call it a complete Gula. The same thing, you can't call it a true Gula. True Gula means that everything, that the etzem of everything is redeemed and revealed. So the Rebbe spoke a whole interesting Sikha. Yud Beis Tammuz was also me'ein of that, because Yud Beis Tammuz was connected with every single Yid. As the Fidik Rebbe said in his famous letter, not only not only the Eibishter redeem me, but even even someone that calls himself Yid as a nickname, says it's not his main, it's not his main name. It's just it's a secondary name. But even he was redeemed, because the Gula of Yid Beis Tammuz, for every Yid, he understood it that this was Pshat. The Yiddishkeit was victorious, even if he wasn't a Chassid, he wasn't even a Shem Torah Mitzvah, for whatever reason, but it awakened by him a certain nekudas hayad, a certain recognition that Yiddishkeit won, and it was moider his neshama. So what the Rebbe says speaks a connection how Yud Beis Gimel Tam was already in the ain of a true and complete Gula that every Yid was redeemed. And getting back to the Indian we discussed last week, I wanted to just actually quote the Sikha I was speaking last week. The Sikha that the Rebbe spoke, that when Moshiach, we had discussion last week whether all the Gzeiras Rabbanan, all the decrees that the Chachamim enacted as precautionary measures that we shouldn't come to violate the prohibition in our Torah, biblical prohibition, they're still going to be when Moshiach will come, and at that point there won't be any room for anything negative. So, as I discussed, there's many different points to look at it, there's many different angles and perspectives involved. There's one Sikha over here, this is Shabbos Parsha Savi Tavshin Mem Tes. The Rebbe says that it's about getting married on Shabbos, Allah, you don't get married, at least mainly the Nisuin wasn't done on Shabbos, the Chuppah was done on Friday, and I don't want to get into it, the Rebbe speaks about it in Shulchan Aruch. But the Rebbe says a lot that the reason you don't get married is Mishum Shavuos. It's a Chacham made a prohibition, but when Mashiach will come, could be able to get married on Shabbos. The Rebbe says, the Rebbe also mentions about when they used to, by night in the Beis HaMikdash, the Rambam writes, used to check the Beis HaMikdash, used to go by night checking. They used to use avuka shalur, torches. But on Shabbos, they used to use the light of the candles. You can't handle torches on Shabbos. They used to use the candles that were burning there already in the Beis HaMikdash. The Rebbe says holding torches on Shabbos is not asur min ha'Torah, it's only mishum shavuos, it's only asur because of muktzah, it's only rabbinic thing. So it could be when Mashiach will come, we'll be able to use the torches. But the Rebbe has an interesting word. The Rebbe says, I've said the word, but I didn't say it in the context that the Rebbe said it. I think it's important just to say it the way the Rebbe said it. The Rebbe says, even though that the Rebbe says will become nullified, the Gzeiras, these inactions that were made, these precautionary fences that the Chachamim made, they shouldn't come to violate a prohibition, a biblical prohibition in our Torah. But nevertheless, the Rebbe says there will still be certain types of siyagim, restrictions of when Mashiach will come. Those types of siyagim, those types of restrictions that are not there in order to provide protection, you shouldn't come to a negative thing. The Rebbe brings, for example, this particular discussion of watching the Beis HaMikdash. The Rebbe says, watching the Beis HaMikdash, right, the whole idea of protection seemingly is there in order to make sure that no robber, no one should come. But it's not. In the Beis HaMikdash, it was very different. The Beis HaMikdash, the Leviim and the Kohanim, they used to watch the Beis HaMikdash. They weren't there just for protective purposes, but it was more for honor. Like you have Hadayim Mazal in England, they have the guard by the palace, the change of the guard. I don't know if they're worried about anybody's going to steal, but it's a certain covet, certain honor of the palace. It says, whatever those, you can't compare a palace that has guards. Watching the palace doesn't have guards. It's not there. The protection there is not to protect that a robber shouldn't come and steal. The guy shouldn't guard.
So either way, in the beginning of Midas, the Shloisha became a shame, and it's an honor.
Yeah. So Mamela, so the Rebbe says, it goes into different. The bottom line is that the Rebbe says also making sure that some it's not a kohen doesn't go in the Beis HaMikdash. It's not a protection that's necessarily connected with a negative thing, but it's connected with a positive thing. Because that's a yid, like no different idea, they want to go. So the fact that you're holding them back is trying to, make sure that they do the Avodah Hashem in the right way. It's not necessarily looked necessarily as a negative thing. So the Rebbe, so in other words, from the Rebbe Sicha, he's differentiating between those siyog and those things that are there, just in order to make sure that a person shouldn't violate, come to do a negative thing, or those things that are there, which are more, you could go like an honorary protection, or things that are done to make an added level of, thinking avodas Hashem. So that was what the Rebbe said. Based on this, I already ventured, this was already on my own, saying that it could be, like from the way it's matched from certain places, a certain siyagim will remain, it could be that also by there, even though seemingly on the outside, it seems that these things are more as a protection, shouldn't come to do a sin, it could be that Moshiach will come, will say they'll still remain, it's not going to be so much, it won't be emphasized so much that it's there to protect them from a negative thing, but it's more as a, as this added special, it's a higher level of Avodas Hashem.
Aber bottom line, dass man nicht in der Woche ist sie nicht. Ich meine...
And so you look at it, I guess.
Nicht für the negative, but the positive.
Von dem kannst du nicht da sein, diese sein.
No, you brought it up the question.
The Rebbe's mashmeh that it could be, will be. Rebbe Dalmo gesagt, als the second by Moshiach,
It's a general question. Die alle Chokes, die alle Gzeres, und die alle Sachen, like Bossereif, die ganze Bossereif wird doch noch mit der Chash. Und noch Kohino, wohl die Samigdosh, the Klal.
I'll ask you another question. You have many Minhagi Yisrael. Minhagi Yisrael became part of Torah. HaKafis doesn't say in the Torah, doesn't say in the Mishnah. It's Minhag Yisrael. Yeah, but the Rebbe says that those things that the Yidden took upon themselves on their own has even a higher shayrish. The same way that the Chachamim, the Gemara says, Medrash says, that the words of the Chacham are even stricter than the words of Torah. So Minhag Yisrael is very high. The Moshiach will come, the Minhagim will also remain, right? So, whatever I'm saying, it's I don't the different in different places it's mashma, different places mashma. It's hard to know. Yeah.
Yeah, but the Pash is Smith. There's certain things in the expression of affection of a person could stand and which as he appreciates the Simchas Kabbalas HaTemer, and it's a new Torah again. It's min atzmei korokit. It's tanzach for the That's the level of dancing in the Hogim of Simchas Torah. Just a tirche go. Stay home. Go to
so let's say you have you that for him he wants to be so careful from something. Not that he's afraid he's doing this. He's not eating chicken with milk, so he shouldn't come and eat animal meat. But he's doing it because
Because
he wants to add.
Yes,
so you have Beis Shammai. It says the loch will be like Beis Shammai. So all the chumras that we don't do today. So we will do all those chumras, right? As the Moshiach will come, everyone be on the level, will be able to be mevader. The Rebbe explains. The Rebbe explains in Tanya.
Yeah, but the halacha.
The Rebbe speaks the Sikha, Shavuos, Nanam, of Terech Hadasha, but then we'll be able to be Mevader, even the Daka Sarah, we'll be able to add those chumras, because now we don't have the koyach, to deal with the more finer levels, refined levels of bad. We have to use Hillel's approach, which is more chesed, but also every Jew will be able. So what does that mean again? And then the Rebbe has a whole Sikha. It's connected. What will be the role of mitzvah Lo Yisaseh when Moshiach will come? And the Tanya that Rebbe speaks about it. And there's explained the whole idea of Lo Yisaseh. There's no klip in the world. What's the Lo Yisaseh? And it's explained with Chassidus that the Lo Yisaseh is Gvuras Kedoshis. It's a spiritual level of Gvura, restriction of
even higher.
Yeah, it's even higher than Chesed, but it's not necessarily that it could only because there's a klipa. You're not allowed to eat.
Yeah.
Fat, forbidden fats causes klipa. So I'm saying there's multiple, there's when Moshiach will come, the whole Torah mitzvah will be dealt within a whole new dimension. So,
what if first question is also, how can you understand? Take a person, explain 100 years ago, a person, Muslim of internet. It's like what they say that I believe says, how are you going to be able to He says, they came out then with the telegraph machine. So the telegraph machine so we haven't seen it going through there. But it was a Muslim, but a Muslim. You couldn't go tell a person who's soggy that things go on in the world, you're not normal. It doesn't exist as a thing. It won't happen. You don't have the means to measure what's going to happen then.
Right.
Because you don't have that Muslim to go down here.
You're not talking only on the Gzeiras, you're talking the Chlala on
yeah.
He's saying, I feel Lo Yisaseh definitely will remain. I'm just saying the understanding, so to say, and the reasoning behind it. And the truth is, Lo Yisaseh you have to, but even in a mitzvah, the Rebbe explains today a mitzvah is Levada Birurim. So when you're doing a mitzvah, you're refining the physical item. Moshiach will come, you're refining the physical item. Again, even though I don't want to get into discussion, there's many angles here. From one hand, it says that the ultimate birur will dafka from Moshiach will come. But then you'll reach a higher level. I don't want to get into there's many aspects here. What I'm saying is, it's true, it's hard for us to be able to understand and to do, but bottom line is that the whole key of the Torah mitzvah is to be from a totally different, higher perspective when Moshiach will come. Fine, good. That was just to finish off what I spoke about last week.
We finish with that?
If you have any questions, we could discuss.
There's so much more to discuss.
I'm saying, it's...
We say this will talk about not nothing else.
No,
there's so much more to talk about these things.
I tried to cover it. Again, there's there's room to say everything over here, in other words. How you could say that Moshiach will come, then we'll have even more Hidurim, even more Gedarim, even more restrictions, or some places is Mashma. On the other hand, somebody, says it won't be DCO. There's all, again, there's many different angles and approaches here. And we're just discussing, trying to cover the basic idea that, fine. Since it's, first of all, this week is Parshas Balak, is one of the fundamental discussions on the Torah. Moshiach is in Parshas Balak. The Rambam, what Balak said about Moshiach.
What Bilam said.
Yeah, right. Sorry, yeah. What Bilam said. I wanted to discuss, so we start discussing is, the Rebbe spoke many times regarding the building of the Beis HaMikdash. It's going to happen through Mashiach, will come from heaven, come in Hashemayim. So, let's discuss some of the points. A lot to discuss over here. the Rambam writes, one of the jobs of Moshiach is he'll build a Beis HaMikdash. The Rambam writes it a few times. Moshiach will be Beina HaMikdash. Asam Lahor, what does it mean he'll build a Mikdash?
Even a Beis Hamikdash.
Huh?
Even a Beis Hamikdash came.
Yeah, he'll build a
That's
Beis. That's the Rambam. There's one Beina HaMikdash, even if it's building the Mikdash. The Beis Hamikdash has a number of components, but it also building the Beis Hamikdash also includes not only building the walls, but it's all the components of the Beis Hamikdash. There's the Kalim, there's the mitzvah. The Rambam writes, beginning of Hilchos Beis HaBchira, Rambam says the mitzvah of building the Beis Hamikdash is to build a place that everything is ready to bring karbonos. So the building of the Beis HaMikdash, according to the Rambam, is a mitzvah which includes everything, not just building the walls, but making the menorah, let's say, making the shulchan, making the vessels, all part of the mitzvah of the Binyan HaMikdash. So Chalak and Rebbe has a number of sichas that Rebbe discusses, at least that's the sheet of the Rambam. Other Gedolei Yisrael might have had a little bit of a variant approach on this. So the Pashas, Moshiach will build the Beis HaMikdash, he'll build everything. The Mizbeach, for example, the Mizbeach, the Rambam writes, as you say, the word Mashiach will build it, but he said it will be built in the future. It's just now, the number of Midrashim, it's accepted as a davar poshut, as a simple fact that the Beis HaMikdash should be built, come down from heaven. And it's also Negei LaHalacha. Why is it Negei LaHalacha? Because the Gemara says they have a halacha that in Eretz Yisrael, at least in the countries around Eretz Yisrael, according to many poskim, you're not allowed to eat chadash. You're not allowed to eat the new grain. The new harvest is usually ready in Eretz Yisrael Pesach time. So from the new barley, they brought the korban omer in the Beis Hamikdash the second day Pesach. So until they brought the korban omer, you're not allowed to eat from the new. You're not allowed to eat from the new grain. Now, how do they know? Those people that lived in Yerushalayim, you can know when they brought the korban omer. Those people that lived outside of Yerushalayim, you don't know when they brought the korban omer, but they had a cloud that they never kratz beyond Chatzos. Once Chatzos came, midday came, you could assume, even those people living in Tzfas, it's very
Thursday Pesach.
Second day. Tezayin. And the night is also already Chol HaMoed. Yeah. So you can already assume...
Yeah, you want to let them
Yeah.
Wenn kann essen, ist der Reise.
Verstehe.
Der Wort ist als Chadash Osman Natera für die Chutzleute. Das ist der Chasam-Sefer. Aber als die Welt ist der Reise.
So what happens is that now it says that when Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, so from the Torah, biblically, it would come out, you're allowed to eat the new grain on the second day of Pesach when it becomes light outside. Since you don't have the korban omer, so it's the day itself, according to Allah, at that point that makes you allow. Once the day comes, you allow the korban omer. That's you allow the korban omer. Yochanan and Zakkai instituted that the whole second day of Pesach you shouldn't eat grain. Why? Mother says that Meheda Yivban HaMikdash. Beis HaMikdash should be built very speedily, and particularly in other words, we're taking into consideration that perhaps the Beis HaMikdash will be built on the night of Tezayin.
The night to Tezayin.
Huh?
To Tezayin.
Yeah. And Mela, what's going to happen is they're going to be busy setting up the whole place. And Mela, in other words, in what it's like this: if the Beis HaMikdash should be built, so fine. So at least say you shouldn't eat the korban omer until Chatzos, because never the Beis HaMikdash was built. They anyway always made sure to bring it by Chatzos. So even if you're taking into account the Beis HaMikdash might be built that day, so at least say that when Chatzos comes to Kriyah, so the mother says, no, we're afraid it's going to be built mamish in the beginning of the day by night, whatever it might be, and they're not going to have time. They're going to have to set up shop, so they're going to have to bring it past Chatzos. So because of that possibility that maybe even though the first day Pesach there was garnish gezen, there was no Beis HaMikdash, there was no garnish, there could be Beis HaMikdash will all of a sudden be there, and they're not gonna have enough time to be in the korban omer before Chatzos. So the question is, how's that possible? Beis HaMikdash should be built over such an amount of time, it should be built by night. Now they're built Beis HaMikdash by night. So Rashi and Tosfos both say The Beis HaMikdash is nicht kein Shaila because the Beis HaMikdash will come down from heaven. Since it'll come down from heaven, so it'll be done 1, 2, 3, but we will still need time to set up the place for days to get the carbon ready. So therefore, we're afraid that we might bring it after Chatzai. So therefore, Rabbi Yechim and Zaki said that the whole second day of Pesach, you shouldn't need the carbon name. So this is Negei La'alach. In other words, if Moshiach will build the Beis HaMikdash, so then there's no reason to say that you're not allowed to eat it every year when second day of Pesach comes. You have to wait until the nighttime to eat the new grain, because Moshiach builds the Beis HaMikdash is a process that will take time. Everyone is going to know, and everyone is going to know to wait until Chatzai. So whatever. But here, in other words, we're taking into account the Beis HaMikdash will be built instantly, very quickly.
What about all Kehanim, mit Mesim, mit Torah?
So the answer for that is that everyone spoke about it. The answer for that is that when Mashiach will come, Aaron and his children will be there. And Aaron and his children, the Rebbe says they won't need to. There's a whole discussion of those people that sound like Mesim won't need.
So they come from they also need time.
They're not gonna need. And but Chalefen, Tumak Hutra B'Tzibur. Tumak Hutra B'Tzibur. So that carbon Tzibur Sevenzach. Chalefen.
He's worried about it. Adam Kennedy who comes out of the day. He needs time.
It needs time.
It's not he needs time. The Yidden.
We lachen besser.
Yeah. You can imagine Mashiach Kadeshki coming. To bring the cup.
It's noch gesagt, geschickt Chassidim zu gehen zu Asuke bei Dortmund. Und zu denen kommen, die Leute haben gefragt, was mir gesagt. Die Rebbe dann gelacht. Was ich gewinnt, er hat gesagt Grammen. Er hat Schach, lach. Dann hat er gesagt, wenn sie so wissen, wie das Schach lacht von sie. Es ist so. Die Menschen durch Chach mehr lachen, als sie wegen der wissen, was sie lachen von uns.
We're trying to understand as much as we could to understand.
We know we can't understand that. We know we can't understand.
Okay.
Even Adam one will be there, but in other words, there's going to be. You can imagine all Yidden are coming and thus, so they're not let's say it's going to be built right in the beginning of the day. But I don't know, you have to bring the carbon tamid, you have to prepare the carbon, things have to be done. You're going to have to cut the wheat, you're going to have to sift
the Mailam as man should come this man. Okay.
So this is what Rashi and Texas brings down, and we also all know the famous Zoyar, that the third Beis HaMikdash is going to be Binyana de Kutsha Bricho, be built by the Eibishter. The first and second Beis HaMikdash were built by man, that's why they did on mass. The third Beis HaMikdash will be built by the Eibishter. On the other hand, the Rambam Paschal's Moshiach will build the Beis HaMikdash. Now, there's a number of answers, and the answers really, each answer really represents a very different, they all answer the question, but they're all very different. One fundamental point is like this. The Rambam B'chlal Znom had a shita that when the Torah tells you to do something, for example, we all heard of the Shemira worm, right? How did they make how did they cut the stones for the Beis HaMikdash, or how did they engrave the name of the Kodesh? They use the Shemir one. When the Rambam writes how to build the Beis HaMikdash and how to make the Choshen, engrave the letters on the Choshen, doesn't mention a word about the Shemir one. And the Rebbe once had a whole Sikha, I don't remember the gist of the Sikha, the way I remember is that the Rambam, from the perspective of Halacha, you have to be able to explain things, to be able to happen from a natural way. Even though it's true that things, in other words, the Rambam is not negating that it can't happen supernaturally. The Rambam is not negating that Shlomo didn't have the Shemir worm. When you're telling a Jew halacha right now, the Shemir worm is something that Shlomo had. He caught Ashmedai to find out where the worm was. Ashmedai himself didn't know. He sent him to one bird to Chayzer until they finally got the worm. So, Al Pi halacha, it's not, the Torah is not commanding us for as regular Yidden that have a chiyuv to build a Beis HaMikdash to go catch the worm. So the Rambam is writing the way things are Al Pi halacha. It's sad. How is it going to happen? That's the Eibishter's business. Similarly, as we have a chiyuv upon us to build a Beis HaMikdash. That's a chiyuv upon us, and more particularly it's a chiyuv on Moshiach, because in a certain sense, the chiyuv of the binyan Beis Hamikdash is more applicable to the king than the three mitzvahs that didn't have command wonder it's all to go in the king to eradicate Amalek and to build the Beis Hamikdash. So mitzad halacha shebetayra the Rambam has to discuss the way it is the mitzvah that's upon us. It's not the way it's going to be with Poel Ma'amish to come down on my today. That's one thing. Another famous beer of which is not really a chiddush of the Rebbe himself said that Maral the skin is others. Is that they explain that really the Beis Hamikdash, everything. The truth is in that I'll say one thing. You have to keep in mind that in Pshat and Nigla, it's gonna all these answers are good to explain how both opinions work together. But each opinion doesn't seem to hold necessarily the other opinion, particularly in the Gemara, discussing that the Beis Hamikdash should be built on Yom Tov. You're gonna have to figure out if these answers could work. If you say the Beis Hamikdash could be built on Yom Tov in these ways. I don't want to get into that aspect. But we're discussing these answers are more to reconcile these two opinions, even though not necessarily is it so simple to say that each opinion holds with other opinions. But another simple explanation is that it says that the gates of the Beis Hamikdash, Tavu Barat Shara, the pasuk says the gates of the Beis Hamikdash sunk into the ground. They were never destroyed. When Moshiach will come, the gates will come back up and we'll put on the gates. You have a halacha that somebody that builds a palace, he builds a whole thing in B'nichsei Hager, in the ownerless territory. So he could build the whole thing if he never dug any foundations in the ground. He just built over the ground and he never made any doors. So he doesn't acquire the area. If somebody else comes and puts the doors, he acquires it. So the reason for that is two explanations. One is like this: it's a mokim hamishtam. When you have doors, it's protected. Another one is roy ladira. It's feasible to dwell in a house that has doors. Also another concept that a place that doesn't have doors is not considered a complete bais. But so this explanation says that when Mashiach will come, we will put up the doors. So we will put up the doors. So it won't take time because the Beis Hamikdash will come down from heaven. The doors will come up. We'll just put the hinges on and put them on. So Mameh will be considered as if we built the whole thing. That's one answer. Also, understand where technically, the size of the doors in the second Beis Hamikdash, the first Beis Hamikdash are not going to be the size in the third Beis Hamikdash. There's many pratim here.
There's malachim that are carving out
they're carving out the doors out of diamonds. What are we saying that they're going to put up the thing? Well, I'm just saying it's an answer in Nigel. It's a very good shmak of word. The Rebbe spoke. I discussed this in the shir way back. The Rebbe gave a whole explanation once. The Beis Hamikdash comes from above. Since it's not going to make foundations in the ground. It's not considered that it belongs to the Yidden. It's still considered like ownerless territory. But Yidden putting up the doors, it belongs to the Bnei Yisrael, so it's considered the Beis Hamikdash. But this is one of the simpler, straight answers, at least simpler inside practical aspect, that putting up the doors is not just considered that you're finishing it, but as if you did everything. As if you built the whole thing. Fine, the kid is as I take it from the Mamish.